Yeah.
Yeah, Nilesh, just guide me during the presentation if there is some lag time. And once again, I apologize for the delay in the slides because of the network issue. That is just beyond our limit or beyond our controls during this work from home condition. Anyways, so once again, very good afternoon to all the professors and the students. I hope my presentation will not be boring, but will be a bit interesting from your research point of view. I'll not explain mainly the basic details because the major emphasis of the presentation will be on solvent methods that being used for the solid dispersion techniques using various cellulosic polymers. And as like all the basic concepts related to solid dispersion and related to Shinetsu product are being covered up by my colleagues Nilesh and Arun. So it will be easy for me now to take this seminar session ahead. So throughout the presentation, I'll be just talking about, as I said, mainly on the solvent methods which are being used. And I hope most of the solvent methods students must be aware of either through the theoretical knowledge or through the practical background in the labs. And apart from that, the presentation will be related to the hypromillose phthalate, how it is being used in the different process techniques. Then similarly, how our HPMC is being used in the spray drying method specifically. And the third emphasis will be on the spray granulation method where application of pharmacoat, that is low viscosity HPMC, will be considered. So hope a slide is clear. So I am on the slide where you can see the solid dispersion process solvent method. Is it right visible, Nilesh?
Yes. Yes. It's visible. Yeah.
Yeah. So this like a basic concept once again what my colleague Arun has already explained that these are various solvent methods is the same presentation slide you can see what he has presented that simply what we are doing in the solvent methods is we are dissolving our API which is mostly from BCS class 2 or BCS class 4 whose like solubility needs to be improved. So we are just taking that API and carrier molecule, that is the polymer which is being used for the solubility enhancement, and that we are dissolving into a common solvent. So that's the common and the preliminary step in all the solvent methods. Then it is then subdivided into various steps. Like in the first case where spray drying is there you are spraying that drug solution mixture onto a drying chamber onto the inert carrier and then converting those into the granules, which either can be filled into capsule or maybe compressed into tablet. Similar is the approach in spray granulation or spray coating, where you are doing the top spray granulation on the inert mixture of say lactose MCC or any other excipient. Simply you are spraying on the substrate and then finally converting into the final dosage form. And third one is co-precipitation, where you are mixing your this drug polymer mixture with anti-solvent, or maybe you are adding any co-precipitation agent, where like 0.1 normal HCl was introduced into the previous presentation for vermorafenib. So likewise, we can add some solvents or the precipitating agent, and finally to convert it into the granules form. So basically, the initial stage and the last dosage form remains the same. The difference is only in terms of the technique you are using, and the goal remains the same, that is solubility enhancement. So there are various products which are being developed by these methods. And based on some data, like you can see solid dispersion, mostly spray drying is widely used among other solvent methods other than HME, which is again solvent free process. But out of the solvent methods, I can say spray drying was majorly used in the previous commercialized products. So let us start with the spray drying itself, because most of the universities or even the commercial aspects like pharma companies also do have the spray drying capacity or the spray drying facility available. So that is the first choice of solid dispersion. So method is very much simple, as I said. when you have like a polymer with the API, which is basically from BCS class 2 or class 4, you have to dissolve that with a common solvent as being suggested in the first slide. And then drying chamber is there, and you need to take care of few of the parameters, like what is the temperature you are using, which is suitable viscosity for pumping, and the spray rate, like what spray rate you are using, and what is the spraying pressure you are incorporating. So all these parameters you have to consider into that. But before that, when it is required, like when there is a high melting point of the API, in that case or that category of the API, you can go ahead with the spray drying method. Second, when the solubility of API in organic solvent, as we suggested, that also you need to consider and act upon that. But what are the basic requirements? Again, it's the repetition of the same. That is the common organic solvent and the carrier. All these are being required with viscosity factor, which I mentioned. So basically, low viscosity is generally preferred for the spraying solution, because if the viscosity of the spray solution is higher, it is sometimes difficult to spray. That's it. And spray dried powders, mostly the parameters which we generally consider is the particle size, the bulk density, the drying temperature, what are the residual organic solvents being used. So all these, in process parameters we have to consider during the process. And finally, the solid dispersion powder which you get, there again, residual solvents limit you have to cross check with, especially like for example, if you are using IP as a solvent, generally USP specifies that less than 5000 ppm should be there when you're calculating your residual solvents at the end of the process. And downstream processing, that means like after getting the solid dispersion powder or the granules, how you are using it for the final dosage formulation to fix it into the dosage form like capsule or the tablet. So before that, you need to consider these downstreaming processes, which either can be considered as the milling process or the other aspects of the process. So generally, downstreaming is another aspect which we need to consider. So now, if we are very much clear with the equipment and the principle of the process, the next factor which comes into mind is the polymers. So there are various polymers being used in the spray drying process, but our emphasis is mainly on the cellulosic polymers which are used in the industry. And as also been explained in the previous presentation, these are not theoretical concepts, but all these polymers and the technologies have the commercial aspects. So basically, these are not just like limited to the research purpose. So cellulosic polymers, as we say, that Pharmacoat, which is low viscosity HPMC, then hypromellose phthalate HPMCP, and HPMC acetate succinate, that is Shin-Etsu Ecoat. All these polymers can be used in the spray drying approach. Just the factors which we need to consider is related to the process, first one, and then second related to the polymers. Like for example, what should be the drug to polymer ratio or the other related factors. Some synthetic polymers are also being used in the industry, but will not focus much onto that in this presentation. I hope my presentation is in line with the dealing time, considering that. So next slide is on the performance of the different polymers. So basically, this study was being conducted by using nifedipine as the model drug. So basically, nifedipine, the polymer was first of all dissolved in the phosphate buffer pH 6.8, and then this solution was added to ethanol API, that is nifedipine. So this first factor which I was mentioning, that is ratio of polymer drug to polymer, which was considered here, was 1:1, and then concentration versus time was evaluated. So there were various polymers being taken into account for this study, that is the HPMC AS grade is Mg, then HP55 grade of phthalate, and Pharmacoat 606 grade, that means with the viscosity 6 CPs, along with other PVP based and acrylic based polymers. So on the results, in the graphical presentation, you can see the relationship between the dissolved nifedipine versus time profile. So as we are, increasing the time profile, you can see the resolution is quite comparable. But as we say that what the super saturation means. So although many of us already know the super saturation concept, but just to give an idea that in case of solid dispersion, just increasing the solubility is not important, but at the same time maintaining the super saturation is the rate limiting step. Maintaining the super saturation mean to say that your solubility should be maintained throughout your dissolution profile. That means no any recrystallization should be provoked during the stability especially. So that is what we can say is the advantage of the cellulosic polymers. So you can see mostly in case of ASMG, which is very much effective in maintaining the profile throughout duration of the dissolution profile. So cellulosic polymers, as I said, stabilize the supersaturated nifedipine. So that's why the best performance can be seen with HPMC AS polymer. So why we are saying that it's not just verbally or the theoretically, but also after processing or also observing the various process parameters. So various process parameters that should be considered in spray drying, like for example, if you see these are the various processing parameters, and the impact can be seen on the feed rate, loss on drying, and on the particle size. So whenever mostly in case of the you can see the temperatures, may it be a temperature of I mean the inlet temperature or the outlet temperature, the impact can be seen. And mostly in case of the downstreaming process, as we say, the particle size. So sometimes whenever the parameters are being influenced, you can see here there is impact on the particle size. So all these processing parameters should be taken into account whenever we are using this spray drying methodology. So that was all about just brief background. But now our focus will be next on the application of hypromulose phthalate HPMCP by different techniques. So different techniques mean to say we now want to focus on spray granulation and the spray drying, how the polymer phthalate HPMC phthalate HP50 specifically can be applied for the spray granulation and spray drying process. In this case, itraconazole is the formulation, or the itraconazole is the API which we are taking into the study, and we are considering its impact in the methodology. That is, first we'll start with the spray granulation. I hope you can see the slide of the composition, itraconazole solid dispersion composition. So
Yes.
yeah, thanks. So itraconazole is basically antifungal agent, which innovator has also used the same polymer. There are actually two innovators for this, but out of that, one innovator has used HPMC phthalate as the solubility enhancement carrier, and we just wanted to check the methodologies, how they are impacting on the solubility enhancement. So first, spray granulation, we have simply performed it at various drug polymer ratio. So you can see 1:1, 1:2, and 1:3, where the drug polymer ratios being used. And other than that, the composition comprises of the polymer HP50, lactose monohydrate as the inert carrier, then talc is there, and solvent which we used is the methanol DCM 1:1 ratio. So spray granulation is nothing but top spray granulation, where we are simply just dissolving our polymer and API in a common solvent. So that you can see on the next slide. That is simply dissolve itraconazole and HP50 in the common solvent methanol DCM 1:1. Then add talc to the drug solution. So talc is used as anti-tacking agent here. Then you are simply doing the spraying or spray solution on lactose as a inert carrier being used by top spray granulation. So it is very simple process. And finally, the dried granules you are filling into the capsule as a final dosage form. Here are the parameters. So in case of the top spray granulation, the regular parameter which you are targeting, that only should be taken into consideration. Firstly, the solid dispersion, the solid content of the dispersion. That means how much is the powdered quantity including the API and the polymer. So here solid content of dispersion was 10%. The temperature, that is mainly the product temperature, was 25 to 40, and spray rate was also on the optimal side, that is 5 to 15 gram per minute per kg. So on doing this simple process, let's see how is the impact on the in process parameters. The results on the in vitro parameters. Basically, the dissolution profile, which is the first factor which we consider for the improved solubility enhancement checkpoints. So here you can see on the graphical presentation, that is the percent drug release of itraconazole solid dispersion 65 mg. So here like three formulations as we explained were taken, that is with differentiation in terms of the drug polymer ratio from 1:1 to 1:3. And obviously when the drug polymer ratio was 1:2 or 1:3, there you can see the solubility was very much improved very much in the right direction. Even with 1:1, it has increased, but there was afterwards a slight lag time or the slight delay, which could not take it to the complete dissolution. So probably that's we can conclude that 1:2 or 1:3 were the suitable drug polymer compositions which can be used for this composition, and that were also complied as per the USP specification, which specifies that after 45 minutes, drug release should not be less than 80% of the itraconazole. So that's how we can conclude this simple study. And similarly, let's see how is the impact of just changing in the methodology. So now if we switch from spray coating to the spray drying, the impact we want to see. Now in this case, we'll just filter out the first option of drug polymer, that is 1:1. We'll just take 1:2 and 1:3 because we found it effective as compared to the 1:1. And what we are doing in this spray drying process is again the same. Itraconazole and phthalate we are dissolving in the common solvent, that is methanol DCM 1:1. And there are few changes being done because being the spray drying process, here you need not to use any extra excipient for that. So simply API solvent you are dissolving into the common solvent, and drying chamber is there where you are just spraying into the spray dryer chamber. So solid dispersion powder is the ultimate outcome. And the parameters which we are generally considering in terms of the solution preparation is the solvent, API, the drug polymer ratio, and the solid concentration. We kept again the solid concentration to be the same, that is 10%. And the spraying condition, mostly as I explained previously also, is mainly the temperature, the inlet temperature and outlet temperature you need to control over, and that has impact on the yield of your product. Then also the nitrogen cycle gas, what is the pressure kg per hour, that is being also being mentioned along with the feed rate. So feed rate seems to be less because the batch size was also smaller, and that could be the reason. Otherwise, it is very much optimum as far as the trial is concerned. And now let us see the impact, how it is being improving the dissolution profile if, in comparison to the spray granulation method. Yeah, in case of this as well, you can see the drug release. So when drug polymer ratio was 1:2, both 1:2 and 1:3, it has drastically improved the solubility and also maintained the levels. And we can conclude that dissolution of formulation where like we are using 1:10, 1:3 complies with the again USP specification, and dissolution in case of F2 is comparatively faster than F1 and itraconazole. So out of that, maybe F2 is the better in terms of solubility improvement. So probably that is the one which we can select from the higher scale. Even to take it further, generally people do other analytical methods to check the solid dispersion. Basically, it is meant for the measurement of amorphous nature of the solid dispersion. That means whether your crystalline drug is being completely converted to the amorphous or not. So for that, We have also checked polymorphic study by XPRD, that is X-ray powder diffraction. And there you can see in case of the API itraconazole, there were various crystalline peaks, and similar was the case with the phthalate polymer. But as you go from the API to the process of either spray granulation or the spray drying, you can see the differences. The formulation prepared by spray drying method, where drug polymer ratios 1:3 did not show the crystalline peak, but that was not the case with spray granulation. So that is why we also need to check not just the solubility, not just the dissolution, but also the polymorphic studies of the solid dosage forms using solid dispersion. So from this study, we can conclude that the spray drying is the most suitable method amongst these two. Even maybe in the next slide, where we have just compared this formulation, whatever we have prepared with the marketed. So now if you can see the dissolution profile of itraconazole solid dispersion, one is by spray drying, which we have prepared. One is by spray granulation we prepared in the lab, and the another one is the marketed product, that is brand name Tolsura. That is also we have been compared. So from this comparison study, what we come to know is like formulation prepared as spray drying showed the comparatively faster and complete drug release profile as compared to the spray granulation. And on this basis, also we can conclude that why Tolsura has been used the spray drying as the most suitable method for the solid dispersion of itraconazole. So it's not that other method, that is spray granulation, is failed in this case, but considering the compatibility with the API, you need to optimize the trials and you need to optimize the suitable technique. And we can conclude that hyperomylose phthalate can be used here by various process techniques, but with 1:3 ratio of drug to polymer and the technique of spray drying, which seems to be perfectly suitable for this polymer. Just move a bit faster because we are already running short of time. The next part is related to the A-coat, that is HPMC acetate succinate by spray drying method again. So this is probably to see the impact of our second polymer, that is hyperomylose acetate succinate HPMC AS grades in spray drying. So again, you can see the solution conditions which are taken into consideration. The solvent API he used here was again nifedipine. Drug polymer ratio was 1:2, and solid concentration again 10%. And other than that, other spraying conditions are also being mentioned over here. And you can see the impact in case of this spray dried formulation of the SPD with ASHG, MG, and ASHG. It has been successful in converting crystalline peaks to the amorphous form of the solid dispersion. So from this XRD study itself, we can say that how the polymer ASMG, LG as well as HG, all the three grades are very much effective in improving the solubility. That is the purpose, and the second purpose of this study particularly was just to check the dissolution profile of nifedipine, and we can conclude that all grades improve the solubility, but different grades unable to modify the drug release profile. So like for example, if you can see the dissolution profile with AS, LG, MG, and HG, all are increasing the dissolution profile or all are increasing the solubility, but only ASHG is the grade which successfully maintaining supersaturation throughout the 240 minutes of time profile. So from that we can say the grade selection is also important. Like although all grades are suitable, but amongst them one should be used based upon the optimization trials taken for the solubility enhancement and to maintain the supersaturation. Again, that has some connection with the acetyl to succinyl ratio, and that is being explained over here. That is low soluble pH increases solubility in upper part of the small intestine, and that's how we can conclude that that may be the reason why LG is not able to maintain the supersaturation in case of the nifedipine. So one point related to the downstreaming, as I mentioned, downstreaming is nothing but like how you are doing processes towards final dosage form. So whenever you have spray dried powder, either you go for the direct compression, like spray dried powder, you are directly compressing into tablet or can be filled into the capsule. But sometimes it requires further to improve the flow properties or compressibility properties. Like for example, in that case you can go with the roller compaction technique. Thereby you can further compress into tablet and also can be filled into the capsule. So roller compaction of spray dried powder can help to increase the bulk density or to improve the powder flow. And sometimes there is advantage that no moisture is there in the RC process. That's why from the stability perspective also it is very much efficient. So probably those factors should also be considered. So there is just one small example like how this nifedipine HPMC a solid dispersion we have used for the roller compaction. There we have taken this spray dried powder and we have simply mixed it with some other excipients, like one is our LHPC NBD 021 grade in one formulation F1, and another one was without LHPC, but there we were adding cross carmelate sodium. So the parameters are mentioned on the roller compactor on the right hand side, and we just wanted to check how is the impact on the compactability of the process or the other parameters like the physical properties. So you can see on the next slide, before roller compaction, obviously there was very much poor flow of the powder, and that's why there was need of the downstreaming process. So we can see with the standard cross carmelate sodium MCC mixture, there was slight improvement in the envelope repose. But when in case of F1, when we are using our NBD 021, which is being used as binder cum disintegrant, the dual property, the envelope repose was being improved on the greater side. So that's what we can say. Roller compaction can be used to improve the bulk density or the Husner's ratio or the envelope repose. That is, for flow properties can be improved. So similar mixture we have taken it for the compression on the rotary press where tablet size was 200 mg with the 8 punch diameter flat with beveled edges. And you can see in the presentation graphs like first one is the tablet tensile strength versus compression pressure. So with the LHPC, the strength tensile strength was very much great as compared to the cross carmelate sodium. Similarly, in case of friability, you can see the LHPC is showing the very less friability, even less than 0.5 at lower compression pressure. So that is what we can say is the dual advantage of using LHPC, especially NBD 021 in roller compaction process, that it acts as the dry binder cum disintegrant. And similar is the behavior in case of disintegration and dissolution with LHPC. Standard formulation with cross carmelose disintegrates in 10 seconds, whereas formulation with NBD 021 disintegrates in more than 2 minutes. So that's what we can say. There is no difference in dissolution profile with both the polymers, but 100% drug release was there in case of both polymers. So ultimately, what we can conclude is the good stabilization of nifedipine supersaturation by ASMG over 180 minutes. That's what we can conclude, that polymer ASMG, that is hypromyl acetate succinate, is very much suitable for the process which we use over here for the nifedipine. Roller compaction helps additionally to improvement of the physical properties, especially the flow properties. And as I explained, NBD 021 showed comparable performance with that of the cross carmelose sodium in terms of improving the tensile strength or the friability, disintegration, and dissolution. Coming fastly to the last part of the presentation, that is in solid dispersion using Pharmacoat, which is under the category of pH independent solubility enhancement. So very simple study where we have again taken nifedipine as the model drug, and polymer used was Pharmacode 606. Ratio was kept constant, 1:2. The difference or the variable factor which was kept is at disintegrant, that is LHPC. First we took without disintegrant, and then SD2 to SD5 we have started increasing the concentration of the disintegrant, that is LHB1, from 10% to 40%. And we wanted to check what is the impact of changing the disintegrant. Process again remains the same, dissolving our nifedipine and HPMC in common solvent, spraying that onto the lactose cornstarch by top spray granulation, and finally granules can be mixed with the lubricant to compress into the tablet. So process is very much simple. We just wanted to check impact of the disintegrant, how increasing the disintegrant can have impact while solid dispersion is being compressed into tablet. So on this slide, you can see the dissolution profile when ultimately there is highest concentration of the disintegrant, that is either 30% or the 40% of the disintegrant. It is, we are highly recommending that highly it is increasing the solubility and also is helping to maintain the supersaturation. So addition of disintegrant showed the faster and increased release. That's what we want to promote. That sometimes whenever spray dried powder or any solid dispersion powder you are compressing into tablet, addition of